This is my SteelSeries Xi review. The Xi has a similar body shape to the Microsoft Wilmot Optical and the 1.1. It's about 15 grams heavier and 95 grams. It contains the only decent laser sensor to date, the Avago 95000 laser, and I find it the perfect shape for claw gripping. It has a 5000 DPI, or CPI as they call it, engine, and interestingly enough this is changeable in increments of 1 as opposed to most other mouses which you can only change in increments of 200 or only doubling and halving. This is the same with the polling rate of the Xi. This is also changeable in increments of 1. They recommend you set it at a multiple of your monitor refresh rates. Apparently this improves smoothness, although after testing I feel there's no real difference. If you're expecting the mouse to be just a super powered version of the 1.1 from Microsoft, the body shape is slightly different, more suited to claw grippers. The front end is a little lower, and the back end, the hill, let's call it, is a little bit further back. The wheel also has a stiffer, more higher friction feel to it than the 1.1, but it's very responsive, and middle clicking is extremely easy. I've had the mouse for 3 days now and I've been testing it constantly, trying to find all the bugs that people have say they had problems with the earlier versions. This one appears to have none of the problems, in that it doesn't have insane positive acceleration, nor does it have negative acceleration. I find it very hard to make the mouse meet malfunction speed, and I can't make the scroll wheel do any delayed scrolls. This might be just me though. I also think I've got a relatively faultless Xi. The lift-off distance is very low, but it's different depending on the surface due to its auto-calibrating lift-off distance. On the PureTrack Talent it's about 1mm, as opposed to the Goliathus control it's about 1.5mm. Depending on the DPI, its tracking rates are between about 3.5 meters per second and 4.5 meters per second. Generally, the higher the DPI, the lower the tracking rate. On 5000 DPI, its tracking rate is absolutely terrible. Anything under about 2600, it's got acceptable tracking rates. Although anything sub 400 does not seem to improve tracking rates. I'll demonstrate this now in Quake Live. I'll swipe the mouse as fast as I can across my mouse pad, and you can see it's very hard to make it malfunction. Not exactly a scientific test, but it's probably the one that gives the best idea of a mouse's tracking rates, and it's also very simple. Now, the mouse feet are exceptional. They're Teflon and they're very large, so you feel like there's it's really a constant glide the mouse feet give you. Although one problem is they're completely flat, so it can trap dust around them. This really isn't a problem if you keep your desk relatively tidy. All the buttons are very responsive, and the clicks, left and right mouse click, a bit harder to press down than say a Logitech G5, but I personally find this good as I never misclick. There's also thumb buttons on both sides of the mouse due to it being ambidextrous. This isn't really a problem for me as I just disabled the 2 right ones and I never really click them anyway. Another interesting thing is the shape of the mouse. To me, appears non-symmetrical. The one side has a slightly bigger dip than the other. This doesn't really affect comfort or anything. I just wondered if anyone knows why this is. Another complaint I've heard is even with mouse prediction on, straight lines can't be drawn. Now, I've tested the mouse with mouse prediction on and off, and I can draw straight lines quite easily with it on, and with it off I can't draw the straight lines to save my life. I'll demonstrate this in Paint now. The drivers are interesting in that you only need them running to change the settings, and then once you've changed settings you can close the process. So it really is a driverless mouse, as in you can take the mouse to another computer and it'll behave exactly the same. Once without even installing the driver software, you can still change the mouse settings. This is through an LCD display at the bottom. I kind of find this a useless feature because I would have had all my settings pre-configured in the 5 different profiles before if I was going to go and play on a LAN PC or a friend's PC. But a nice addition, I guess, to some people who might use it. The sensor position is directly in the centre, quite far back. I found this quite good in that it gave me good control over the mouse. The mouse in general has a very balanced feeling. I don't feel it too front heavy or too back heavy, which is something I really look for in a mouse. Honestly, I'm blown away by this mouse. After only 3 days of using it, it feels like I've been using it for months. I'm already performing better than my old mouse, which is the G500 in case anyone was wondering, which has the same sensor in, so I was able to get the same settings, etc. But just on comfort and performance, it's really an amazing mouse. You need to check it out. Problems I will mention are the surface of the mouse, even though it's meant to be anti-sweat, the back of it seems to get quite sweaty for me, more than my older mouse. And occasionally the CPI changer at the top will get out of sync with the CPI. Sometimes it will be at the high CPI setting with the light off, and the other way around. This is fixable.